all read the Eagle. Since 1925, it's been the independent student voice here at American University. Classmates walk into class with a copy of the paper tucked under their arm or stuffed into their bags. Despite the Eagle's seemingly widespread readership, the mere mention of the name elicits groans from many students who are exasperated by inaccuracies. So much so that recent charges of plagiarism by Eagle writers did not come as a surprise to many students. Editor-in-Chief Lauren Gardner is finally taking action after members of her writing staff repeatedly violated journalistic standards. She's now in a position to salvage the tattered reputation of the Eagle and restore any lost credibility. Lauren, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.
How do you see the role of the Eagle? And especially when we've got students who are increasingly turning to other forms of campus news like the Daily Jolt.
I think it plays a very important role. I mean, it's been our independent newspaper since, as you said, 1925. The Daily Jolt is just a different forum of getting your news, much like the AU Tunnel was last year. It's just a different way of presenting news and a different way of receiving it. It's a message board forum, so it's kind of more of the Web 2.0 type of website receiving news method that some people use today. But it doesn't take the place of a newspaper, I don't feel, and I feel that that's where the Eagle comes in, is that we're traditional, but we're also still addressing the changing times with also having a website, a blog, and reaching out to our readers that way also.
Yeah. Some have said that the Daily Jolt has about as much credibility as the Eagle. I think it's largely based on inaccuracies and faulty reporting. How do you feel about that?
I think that's completely untrue. The Daily Jolt is a forum where people talk about what they know, but also what they've heard. It's a different way of discussing what's going on campus. The Eagle, we do make mistakes at times, but with the number of corrections that have come in so far this semester, I don't feel like is anywhere near the number of mistakes that I know have been made in the past. I've been working with the Eagle for my entire 4 years at this university, and I've seen it at a stage where it wasn't its best, but I've also seen it grow over the last 2 years to become something much more reputable. And I think that I've worked as hard as I possibly can to carry on that.
Well, despite the increasing reputableness of the Eagle, this has been a very, very tough year for you guys, as you've had the plagiarism charges, and then you've got the whole mistake with the elections. The candidates who were running, there were lots of seats that were just not printed for whatever reason in the Eagle that were legitimate candidates. There's been a lot of things kind of mistaken in the Eagle. How are you trying to address those problems?
Well, I mean, in terms of the number of seats for the SG that weren't printed, I mean, that was an oversight, but I don't think that was, I don't think it's as, it was a mistake, but I think we've made worse mistakes in the past. And in terms of the plagiarism, we did not publish the column that we received, when we were looking at it in the editing process, realized that it was different, very different from other things we had received from the columnist. So besides there were a couple lines that were cited in a column we did publish that were not properly quoted. We did print that. But it's just, being an editor is a very difficult job, and it's difficult to catch everything on a daily basis. If you look at the corrections pages in the New York Times and the Washington Post, there's something there every day. Everybody misses something. It's human nature. And we're a college newspaper, and we try our best to be the best we possibly can. And sometimes we make mistakes. We're humans too.
Can you elaborate a little bit on the Eagle's editorial policy? I know there's a lot of confusion, especially during the SG elections, as far as what exactly the rules were for editorials in the Eagle.
There aren't any. It's not a strict rule saying, no, we can't do this, no, we can't do that. It's more of a practice that we try and keep up with, like a precedent, basically. And to my knowledge, we don't publish platform pieces from anybody running for student government, for the undergraduate senate, just because there are so many there's nowhere near enough space in the paper to properly give everybody the room to state what the platform they're running on. Mm-hmm. In terms of the executive board, we meet with everyone running for the executive seats at the end of the semester, and then we endorse them. We choose which candidates we're going to endorse.
Now, why are you endorsing candidates? It seems like we've got there's a divide there. You're not publishing work by candidates, and yet you're endorsing candidates. Where do you fall on that? What makes those candidates worthy of endorsement and not? First of all, why does a newspaper endorse political candidates?
That's a journalistic practice. Other newspapers do that too. They'll choose in a major presidential election, a newspaper will choose whether or not to back Democratic or the Republican candidate. And it's the editorial page. The editorial page is completely separate from that of the other sections. It's a different writers.
There's a problem, though, there, because we've got, from what we've read, we've got the case Travis MacArthur. Travis MacArthur was allowed to publish a very scathing article against many SG candidates, and yet they were not allowed to publish anything back.
They were allowed to write letters to the editor that we would have run, had they.
But you had declined previously other letters to the editor that you did decline to publish for whatever reason. Why? Where is the line? Where do you have the line?
It's difficult to determine. It's just we operate based on what we see with national newspapers, and also we get advice from professors, from anyone in the journalism community who can give us advice that we can get in touch with. And I've talked to professors. This isn't any practice that's really abnormal. It's not that we don't want to give a student who's running for office a voice. If they want to say something, that's fine. It's just when you have at the end, that they're specifically writing to say vote for me. It's difficult.
But candidates, editorialists saying don't vote for him are allowed to say that.
He's a columnist. A columnist is different. He is a columnist for the Eagle, but it's his opinion. It's not the opinion of the newspaper. That's where the difference comes in. It's his personal opinion, not ours.
And so candidates who have personal opinions aren't allowed to publish them?
No, it's a difficult situation to explain, and it's not that they can publish their views, well, if we deem that we want to publish them. It's just that.
Well, I guess that's the question, is how do you deem which opinions are worth publishing and which opinions aren't worth publishing? I think many people would say that Travis MacArthur's opinion was not worth publishing, but you published it anyway.
The difference with his is that he's a columnist, and he writes for us there's a specific column that he writes for us that appears at a certain time during the month.
So regardless of the content of that column, you will publish it?
No, that's not the case. If I receive something that I feel if someone is trying to make a point and doesn't adequately address all the issues surrounding that point, and it sounds like a barrage just based on one instance, I talk to the columnist and say, I see the point you're trying to make, but I don't feel like it adequately expresses that. Could you please address it? But we can't change the opinions of the columnist. Their opinion is their opinion.